The Chicago Bulls clean house in the front office as they fire Artūras Karnišovas and Marc Eversley. We're going to be talking about that along with the latest update around Billy Donovan. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Bazelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it. And let's start with the latest update around the front office. And so this is everywhere. This has been the talk around the Chicago Bulls all day today. And so I got a chance to read this article on ESPN.com. And so let's go ahead and start with what Michael Reinsdorf had to say about the firings here. And so this is his statement here. And so he says that these decisions are never easy, especially when they involve people we respect both personally and professionally. Bulls owner Michael Reinsdorf said in a statement, "We are grateful for the dedication and the work that they put in over the past 6 years. At the same time, we have not had the success our fans deserve, and it's my responsibility to go in a new direction." He would continue on and say this, I want our fans to know that I hear you and I understand your frustration. I feel it as well. I know this will take time, and I am fully committed to getting this right. At the Chicago Bulls, our focus remains on building a team that can compete at the highest level and ultimately contend for championships. We are committed to taking the necessary steps to move the Bulls forward in a way that makes our fans proud. All right, guys. And so, look, a lot to take in, especially after that statement there from Michael Reinsdorf. And so, initially, here is my thought on this situation. And so, I have been talking about why I think that the Bulls front office really had to be the change that the Bulls made going into this offseason. And I think that this was certainly the right decision. And I just think that overall, this is something that I think, a lot of people thought it should be done, but a lot of people felt that the Bulls wouldn't do it. All right. I think that they thought that, hey, the team was going to stay committed to this front office, and they didn't. They did not wait until the end of the season. They went ahead and they cleaned house in the front office here. And so, I think ultimately what it comes down to is just that there was way too many fumbles here with AK Marc Eversley in this front office. I mean, when you look at just the roster construction, I mean, this was a team that really never addressed the points of getting, I think a much bigger as a team and getting a center. Like, it just was a lot of pieces that really didn't work. Next, I think when you just look at the overall success, with this front office and the fact that, look, they were only in one playoff series. They only won one game there, and just the rest is just they've been out of the playoffs. And so we haven't seen a whole bunch of success there. And then when you just look at the most recent moves that have happened this season, really questioning with what this team is doing and what direction they're going in. We've talked about it before with the situation with Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu. Certainly those things are something that really stings here, with us Bulls fans. And then also too, when you look at the draft history here, that has not been great. Yes, AK did hit on Ayo Dosunmu, and yes, he hit on Modest Bazelis, but there are several misses, especially with Patrick Williams. And not only did he miss, with the draft pick there at pick number 4, but he also extended him, and then on top of that, when you look at just the fact that, look, they let go of Peter Patton turns right around and then helps the New York Knicks shoot a franchise record in 3-point shots made and stuff like that. Like, that stuff is stuff that I just think over time it just adds up, and it just led to the fact that, look, the Bulls needed to just seriously make a change here in the front office. And so now, just looking at this and what direction the Bulls possibly could go in. And so, I think one of the early names out there that continues to get mentioned is going to be Bob Myers. And I think that this would be, an outstanding hire in my opinion, because Bob Myers has got it done at a high level here in the NBA. Like, he has gone out and he's proven to get it done as far as constructing rosters to win NBA championships. And so I think that, look, whenever you bring in, somebody who's won at a high level, that's something that you just can't measure with stats. So I would like to see something like this happen. Obviously, I think that the Bulls are going to have to move, I think, relatively quickly, because you need to get somebody in place here to where you can go ahead and you can get your stuff together for this upcoming NBA draft or whatnot. And so let's see what happens. We'll talk a little bit more about some potential candidates that could go to the front office, but a name that I continue to see right now would be Bob Myers. And so now I wanted to go ahead and I wanted to shift focus now. And I wanted to talk a little bit now about Billy Donovan. And so one of the reasons why I liked this ESPN article about just talking about the firings that happened here in the front office is because at the start of the article, there's a video there from Shams, and he's talking about what has happened with the front office, and he mentions the most latest here around Billy Donovan. And so I thought that this was very interesting because, number one, coming into this news that we heard about the front office, the UNC job was taken there by Michael Malone. And so Michael Malone used to coach the Denver Nuggets. And so it looks like that the University of North Carolina has gone ahead and hired him. The significance there is that we were hearing a lot of rumblings that Billy Donovan perhaps would want to go to UNC. And so that did not happen. And so now he's still with the Chicago Bulls. And it looks like that management very much wants to keep Billy Donovan on. And so, in fact, Shams says that at the end of the day, the Bulls want to keep him as long as he wants to be there, and they plan to go ahead and meet with him at the end of the season. And so talking about Jerry and Michael Reinsdorf. And so let's see what happens with this situation. This actually goes into what I was talking about a couple videos ago, where I said that, look, if I were only to keep two and you were going to have to release one in the scenario, whether it was the front office, coaching, is it a full reset with the roster? I said I would go with Billy Donovan and I would go with the roster and I would just clean house with the front office. And I think that that would be enough to kind of get some things going here. And I just talked about the fact that, yes, Billy Donovan has not been perfect as a coach. And I think that you do have to look at the fact that, man, the roster has been terrible in which it's been, just constructed and things like that, what he's had to work with. And so I do wonder what it would look like if you were to bring in a new front office and then also to see what Billy Donovan would do. And so I could see this situation playing out to where, yes, they do keep Billy Donovan, at least for another season and see, really what happens here, depending on, who is going to be in the front office or whatnot. But, I don't think that this is anything that is really shocking here, that Billy Donovan is going to stay, because there were also two reports that, look, it could be one or the other, that maybe if AK were to stay, Billy Donovan were to go. And so, now AK in the front office is out. Billy Donovan looks like that he's going to be in for right now. Let's see what happens at the end of the season. He could decide to walk away, depending on what the direction is going to look like with this franchise here, because I do think that with just how the status is of the franchise, with just what you have in free agency, the money you have, the picks that you potentially are going to have, I think that this is something that can turn around relatively quickly here. And so, I think that maybe this is something that Billy Donovan would want to be a part of here. So anyway, you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking about this most recent news. Once again, the Bulls go ahead, they clean house in the front office and they fire AK and Marc Eversley. Do you feel like that really that is going to turn this thing around very quickly now that the front office is out of the way? Or do you feel like that, look, no, that is not going to be enough? You still will have to get rid of Billy Donovan in order to completely make things, work, for the Chicago Bulls in the long term. I can certainly understand that. But again, in my opinion, I think that when you start with the front office, you're starting from the top and then you go down to the bottom here. I think that just that change, it really is going to change, I think, a lot for the Chicago Bulls here in this front office. But you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking. We'll be talking more about what the Bulls potentially can do in the front office, and then also to what they could possibly do as far as their coaching search if it comes down to that as well. And so anyway, as we always say, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.